Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. We've got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten. It is the middle of football season, but we are still talking basketball because we are committed to basketball, Kent. Have you ever been so committed to something in your life other than a basketball podcast in the middle of football season?
I hope so. I think I'd like to think I'm married, so I would like to think I'm more committed to that, and I have kids, so I think. But besides those two, though, you're right. I don't think anything above being married and being a father. I'm committed to anything more than this. Besides those two things.
Those are pretty high bars, so I'll take third place. I feel like that's pretty acceptable. I won't take third place in basketball this season. I think the Buckeyes are going to win it all. They're
There you
going to
go.
win the Big
Let's go.
Ten,
Let's
even though
go.
I've been the most pessimistic person on them this season on this podcast.
That's all right though, man. You can't really gauge how you're going to feel about your team until you see them play. I think a lot of football fans are feeling like that right now, really pessimistic going into the season, but maybe after they see them play a game, they're like, "Okay, let's go." And then once you see them play, then you're all in again. Your fandom really comes back out. So, I won't judge you until you start being like that during the season.
Well, that's true. I was like that last season, but I also had Chris Holtman as my coach, so I feel like I had a little bit of a reason to be pessimistic.
Yeah. And
But
I
with
was
Jake
just for
Diebler,
the record, I was judging you all last season when you were being like that. Cuz I said I
that's
wouldn't judge you until you did it during the season. So when you were, I was judging.
that's fair. That's fair. I get that. Actually, I judge myself. I'm judge myself as well. We do have Sonny here with us right now. Says, "What's up, Jr.? Nice to see you, bud. It's nice to see you too, Sonny. It's nice to see you too." Saying
Every
only hello
time,
to
man.
me.
He does this to me every time. He hurts my
Did
feelings.
Did you make him mad on your last show together?
No, in fact, we're about to record tomorrow morning together, so I'd like
Wow.
to think that I'm in his good graces right now.
Maybe, maybe not. He might ghost you. We'll
I might
see.
ghost him. How about that? With
Oh,
all these negative comments he's throwing at me on the huddle.
you could do that too. John Hawks is here. Howdy, boys. Howdy, John. Good to have you here. Thanks for being here with us. All right. Well, like I said, it's the middle of football season, and I had a super busy day. So we only have three topics to get to today. We have, I don't even remember what the first one is. I have to check my sheet over here. We have the NCAA tournament expanding. We have some coaches that spoke on it anonymously. So we'll see what they have to say, kind of give our thoughts on some of that. The NCAA is considering changes to the redshirt eligibility in the national letter of intent as part of sweeping review of the sport. And then we're also going to be assigning new rivals for every Big Ten team. Kent has 9 of them. I have 9 of them. And we're just going to have a good time with it. So if you have any suggestions at any point in time, go ahead and put that in the chat who you think should be Iowa's rival or Rutgers' rival. I'd have a really hard time with Rutgers. So
Yeah, that's
if
a
you have
tough
a
one.
suggestion, please let
That's a
me know.
tough one. Did you do so I tried to stay out of conference with this, all non-conference teams. Did you do that too or no?
I think I did one in conference because it's always annoyed me that they don't consider themselves rivals. And then the two teams that I had, USC and Washington, I gave them rivals in the conference because I felt like they needed
Yeah.
rivals. Like I had an idea for USC that was out of the conference, but I was like, no, I'm going to go with the one in conference because I feel like they need a rival. I feel like they need somebody to hate in this conference.
Yeah, that's fair. I probably should have done that with Oregon and UCLA as well because those were my two new teams. But I just went out of conference with all of them. But you guys will have to stick around to the end of the show to hear these new rivals that we came up with. That's how we
Yes.
keep them hooked, right?
Yeah, that's how we do it. We
Yeah.
we title the show with the most interesting topic, and then we put the most interesting topic last because some people don't know how to use the fast forward feature, and we got those people.
We
They've
got
listened
them.
to us the entire time or
Or they're
live.
watching live and they can't fast forward.
Yeah, exactly. Like Sonny and John here, they have to wait.
Yeah. Stick around, boys.
All right, well, let's just get to the first one here. The first one, should the NCAA expand the tournament or keep it remaining at 68 teams? So, Kent, I felt like this was a really interesting article. The coaches that they asked anonymously, actually 38%, this was the highest percentage of the three options they gave, expand to 76, stay at 68, or expand to 72, 38% said that they should expand to 76, which I found really, really interesting. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, but I do want to read at least one quote from each coach who spoke on each section. So the coach, like I said, these are anonymous, so I don't have who said them. We could play a guessing game if we
I was
want
gonna
to,
say we
but
should guess who said these things.
there's so many coaches. Like the Montana State coach said this. All right, so the first one, those who voted for 68, he said, my choice will always be 68. It's hard as hell to make it. I did it as a player. It's such a finite line that you have to be perfect down the stretch and into March to make it. We won our mid-major league, but we knew the only way to make it was to win the tournament, and it took an overtime fadeaway 3 at the buzzer to get there. It was earned, and that's the way it should be. If you're not a Power 5, it's very special. 68 with 68 different stories. Kent, are you in your bag? Do you know somebody, a mid-major, who won the tournament to get in on a fadeaway buzzer at the last second? Probably at least 10 years ago, I would think. I don't think anybody's a head coach that...
I can't remember the team, but I do remember a specific play where they ran a full court like baseline out of bounds play and threw it like to the top of the key, and then they pitched it to the wing, and then that guy like pulled up and hit a 3, but I can't remember who that was. He might be a coach. I'd have to look up what that team was, but it's
he doesn't say that it was him. He said it took an overtime fadeaway 3 at the buzzer, so he was just on that team. But
I still want to find out
what
that team was, though.
Yeah,
and then look it up and down their roster and see if there's a coach on there. But no, I don't know one right off. Besides that play, I don't know one right off the bat. No.
That was a good hint, though. That was a good hint. We get some discovery work here. John says UMass. I don't know.
That was the team that hit the one that I'm talking about?
Maybe. But I don't know a single coach from UMass, unless he's saying the coach of UMass. If John got that right, we're bringing John on the podcast.
Maybe he's saying the coach. This is saying, okay, last minute 3. No, this is recent. I'm talking about one that happened in like the 90s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think it would be recent. I think like it would at least have to be 8-10 years ago, at least.
Yeah. I don't even know how I would search for that. Who hit a 3-pointer at the end of a game one time? It's like a million teams come up. It's like, oh man,
you have a Wikipedia page for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the quote. Those who voted for 72, expanded to 72. Here's one quote of a coach for them. He said, I would expand to 72 and make the first 8 the last 8 in off the bubble. Stop making low and mid majors who won their league/tournament play in Dayton. They earned it. A below 500 in-league Big Ten team. Wow, shots fired. A below 500 in-league Big Ten team should be the ones earning their spot. Well, listen here, coach, okay? A below 500 Big Ten team is probably still better than your broke program. Sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Ooh.
I don't even know who your program is. Show yourself.
Yeah, I wish that we had all the coaches like named on here, but obviously they're not going to reveal themselves just for an article that some guy's writing on, CBS or whatever it is.
This is Matt Norlander. This is not some guy.
Well, no, but you know what
Gary
I mean,
Parrish. And Gary Parrish. I've heard everybody loves listening to them. I don't, but everybody else does.
Respect to Matt and Gary for all that they do. But my point remains, though, like coaches aren't just going to give up their names and start saying like, I think the system's broken and like have fans attack them just for the, just for the article, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like they wouldn't do that. So, but I do wish we had their information though, or their names.
Yeah. At least their addresses so we can go to their house.
Yeah. I need addresses immediately.
John says, do those teams really have a chance? Well, you could argue UCLA when they were an 11 seed, they made it. So they were in the first playing game. When was that? Like 5 years ago?
It was 2019, I believe.
5 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
I knew that. All right. Here's a quote from one of those who voted for 76. He says 76, but only if auto bids are automatically in the 64 team bracket. I think the additional 12 teams should have an extended version of the first four. What I do not want is to see the 8 additional mediocre Power 5, again, shots fired, mediocre Power 5 teams that get into the tournament get seeded directly into the 64 team bracket, and 14s, 15s, and 16s all have to play in.
That
What do you
sounded like
think?
Matt Painter.
Yeah, that's definitely Matt Painter.
That was for sure Matt Painter. I can say that without a doubt. Like, he
He
doesn't seem like a guy that likes to mess around with mediocre Power 5 teams and watching them on Tuesday and Wednesday night before the tournament
I also hear he
actually
doesn't want to
starts.
I also hear he doesn't want to mess around with 14, 15, and 16 seeds.
Ooh.
Sorry,
Ooh.
Russ. Sorry, Dylan. It's a
Ooh.
joke. Actually, they're doing their podcast tonight, probably, so they're not even
They
here.
did it last night. I actually jumped on their show last night. We were doing a fantasy football draft at the same time.
Oh, okay. So they were
Yeah.
last night.
So I'd be surprised if they were doing it tonight. No, but that did sound like a coach from like a team that gets in all the time and like has no
Yeah.
worries about being in the field of 64 at all. So I was trying to think of somebody that would be like that. That's why I just immediately went to Matt Painter.
Well, he is in the tournament all the time, so
Yeah.
props to him on that. All right, Kent. So obviously these coaches make a few good points here. Does it surprise you that more coaches want to expand to the 76 rather than stay at the 68?
Well, yes, first of all, because I don't want to do that. And I'm surprised that more I shouldn't say that because I don't know exactly who was polled on this and how many people are from like mid-major programs who can't get in unless they win their conference tournament at the end of the year. So maybe I would venture a guess that most of those coaches would say, "Hey, we need a bigger emphasis on our regular season, and the only way that we're going to be able to do that is if we get 2 or 3 teams in from our smaller conference." So I think most of those coaches would be in favor of it, and I'm not surprised that they would. But I think coaches from Power 5 or Power 4, whatever you want to call it at this point, conferences, would say that they don't want to expand it. And it really, to me, I'll just say what I think. If it was up to me and I could fix college basketball, I would go the opposite way and I would go back to 64 because
I
I never had a problem with 64 at all. I thought that going to 68 made it fun because there was a couple more games, but I'm not losing sleep if I miss a play-in game. I'm not like totally glued to a play-in game. Now, if I'm not doing anything that night, I'll be like, okay, this is the only thing on. I'm going to watch this college basketball game, maybe get some more information about these teams so I can fill out my bracket better. But other than that, I don't really care. I thought 64 was great to begin with. And anytime that you expand it at all, whether it be, this applies to football as well. Anytime you're expanding the playoffs, you are watering down what is taking place in the regular season and you're putting less of a significance on that. And college basketball already has a problem with that. The regular season borderline doesn't matter. You can lose 10, 15 games if you want to and still make the tournament. You can lose all your games and go win your conference tournament and still get in. So I'm in favor of making the regular season matter a little bit more. That's why I would say if it was my choice, I would shrink it to 64. And that might sound crazy, but hey, it's my choice though. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, I definitely think that coaches probably want the 78 because I think that for some coaches, when they're on the hot seat, they use that idea of like, oh, but I made the tournament. Like they use that quite often to try and be like, hey, get off my back. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing good work here. I remember that was used so many times for Chris Holtmann when he was at Ohio State. And in fact, at one point, I was believing it. I was like, the guy makes the tournament every single year. Now, he also made the tournament and lost in the first or the second round every single year, lost to a 15 seed one time. So, I mean, you like, okay, you made the tournament, but you can't win when you get there. So, and everybody called us crazy. Everybody said we were a terrible fan base because we didn't want a coach who couldn't win in the tournament, but he's getting us there. And it's like, what good is getting to the tournament if you can't actually make it anywhere? And I think Illinois fans felt that way similarly last year, not to like get rid of their coach, but they were frustrated with Brad Underwood that he could never seem to really make a run in the tournament. And you see how elated they are now that he got them to the Elite Eight. And they arguably probably would have been a Final Four team if they did not face UConn, who was nobody was going to beat. I mean, Purdue couldn't even beat them. They had Zach Edey. So, like, I feel like that's what's going to be for coaches. Now, you kind of touched on what I want to talk about next, like what's best for the fans. If we're talking about what's best for the fans, not so much the coaches, I totally agree. 64 is the best place to keep it at. I really don't care about these playing games. I don't want to see UCLA versus Arizona State. Like, to me, that's not March Madness. That's like, okay, these two teams are playing, but it doesn't matter. Now, if there was more emphasis set on like UCLA won, so UCLA made the tournament, but not Arizona State. Because I'm with you. You've made the point before that, like, Michigan State gets credit for making the tournament in this big, long run, but all they did was make a play-in game.
Yeah.
Is that really making the tournament? Like, yeah, I know that you're one of the 68, but, like, let's be honest. It's supposed to be a play-in game. It's supposed to be a play-in game to get in the tournament. If you don't win that game, you shouldn't have recognition for being in the tournament. And so I would feel better about expanding it and having playing games if we had that thought process, but we don't. Everybody just wants to say, oh, yeah, if you're one of the 68, you got in the tournament. So I'm like, no, put it back to 64, which is never going to happen, but I think it's better that way.
And we've mentioned this a couple times now, but that UCLA run in 2019 or 18, whatever it was, that is for sure the anomaly and not the rule. Like, so how many teams have been in playing games since we started this that lost in the next round or won one more game and that was it? They didn't really have a chance. So to me, expanding it, you're basically just saying, hey, we want more TV advertising money, so we're going to make as many games as we possibly can to get all of that money. And for the fans, it's not worth it. And to be honest, if they really took one step back and thought about it, for college basketball, it's not great either because, like I said, how many times can you go to a game right now during the regular season and in the Big Ten, and this goes across all of college basketball. Now, obviously, there's some teams that they can sell out every game. But I went to a Big Ten game last year in the middle of the season, and it was like 30% full because the regular season doesn't matter at all. And there was teams that were in the NCAA tournament last year, but nobody cares though because the regular season doesn't matter. The students care because they don't have anything else to do in the winter. But if you really want college basketball fans to get excited about the regular season and to talk about it more, like they talk about the NFL and the NBA and college football, then you have to have the regular season matter more. And right now it doesn't. And expanding it is only going to make that worse, I think.
I couldn't agree more. And John, he's saying exactly with you. He tends to agree as well. I mean, like here's my thing, right? So many people talk about, well, if you don't want more teams in the tournament, then you don't want more basketball. And it's like, I get that point to a certain extent, but like you're just watering down the product. Like you talked about, you have less people at regular season games because you have more basketball in the postseason. And so it matters less. I do think that that's not always the case. Like I think college football is more fun now, and I'm not turning this into a football show, but I'm just talking about like college football to me is more fun now that you have a 12-team playoff and it's not just Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama and Texas that are being considered, and Oregon or I don't know, somebody else might sneak in there. I'm just listing off random teams at this point, but like
I agree.
have the thought of a G5. Like these G5 teams are playing for that final spot. Is the G5 ever going to win the playoffs? No, they're not going to win the playoffs. But it's fun. It makes it interesting to talk about a G5 team, and you're going to be doing playoff predictions in week 8, and you're going to have people arguing between Boise State and like I don't know, Akron. Not Akron. They suck. But some other team. You're going to have this argument, but you get that to a certain extent in the NCAA tournament. But even last year, I felt like I could have made the argument that Ohio State deserved to get in over some other teams. But at the end of the day, I was like, doesn't really matter. Chris
Yeah.
Holtman lost too many games, and in reality, they don't deserve to be in because they're not going to win at all. So,
Yeah. I just think
I
about like, what if we went the extreme opposite direction and went
like
back to like
32.
32?
Yeah,
Like how important would every single game be at that point? But I do see what you're saying with football. You're right. It does get interest more for more teams because more teams are in. But we also only had 4 teams in before. So it
yeah,
was really hard to get more fans involved because there was only 4 spots at the
right.
table. We're talking about a league that has or a sport right now that has 68 and we need more? Like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Well,
Like,
and that's what I was going to say is there are about 3 times more college basketball teams than there are college football teams. FBS college football teams. It's about the same Division One in both. But the NCAA tournament is about what is that? Like 5 times what the college football playoffs are now.
I'm
I
trying
mean,
to
it
do the
was like
math in my
12
head.
times as much what it was before. So like if 12 seems right for the college football playoffs, and we could argue about that till we're blue in the face, but let's just say it is. If 12 seems right for the college football playoffs, then what's 3 times 12? 36.
Yeah,
It's about
it should be
32 teams.
32.
30. Yeah,
Yeah,
I tend to
32
agree.
would be great. Or 36. Then you still have you can have 2 play-in games. There you go.
There you go.
36, you got 2 play-in games and then 32 teams. How important is regular season now? I bet people start showing up to those games and those rivalries start getting even more intense. But to be realistic, though, obviously we're not going to go backwards in time and make it smaller because, like I've mentioned thousands of times on different podcasts, there's too much money involved. And the more games that they can pack in there, the more money the NCAA is going to make, and the more money the schools are going to make, and the conferences, and everybody's going to be happy and swimming in money. So it's going to be great. So we can't go backwards, I don't think. So I guess that the only thing I can do now is campaign for it to stay the same because it's a great tournament right now. The only thing that I did take away from this article that actually came from somebody that was in favor of expanding, which obviously I've made my point that I am not, is he said that we should stop making the mid-majors play in Dayton. And I totally agree. That's
Yeah.
why I think we should go back to 64. No more playing games. Everybody's happy. You get 3 days to fill out your bracket. You don't have to worry about the playing games or watching those, or you have to answer text messages from people about, do I have to pick the playing game? And what is Texas Southern and Michigan State or whatever it is? What does that
Yeah.
game mean? I don't understand what this means. Do I get both of those teams? Like, God. So go back to
Amateurs.
64, make it easy. No more Dayton, no more playing games, and everybody would be happy. I think that was the best we had, and we lost it already. So let's just keep it the second best, which is 68, I guess.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. All right, we're going to move on to our next subject. We're going to hit an ad really fast, and then we'll move on to talking about the redshirt rules and national letter of intent. CBB Analytics isn't just another stat site, it's your ultimate destination for in-depth college basketball analysis used by fans and even the coaches. It has comprehensive stats for men's and women's basketball across Division 1 through 3 dating all the way back to 2018. From shooting percentage to game recap, CBB Analytics has it all. Try CBB Analytics for free or pay for a tier to take your basketball knowledge to the next level. JR, casual Big Ten here, talking college basketball, specifically the Big Ten. Philip, I apologize. I missed your comment there. He says, make play in games flexible based on bid stealers. I would be in favor of flexible play in games, possibly, but I would want to keep it the same. Like I said, you only make the tournament if you make the 64. But, all right. Our next subject here, we have, Kent, thoughts on the new redshirt rule and eliminating the national letter of intent. So let's start with the redshirt rule first. So if you're not aware, Essentially, in college football, you can play in 33% of the games, regular season games, and still have a red shirt. That means 4 games. If you are a freshman, well, not just a freshman, if you are whatever and you have not redshirted yet, if you play in 4 games or less in college football, you can still be redshirted. That does not apply to college basketball. So they are talking about applying this same rule, 33% of games, to college basketball, which is roughly about 10 games per season. Kent, do you like this idea? Do you not like this idea? What's your thoughts on the redshirt rule here? Oh, and they're also talking about adding a 5th year of eligibility on top of that. What are your thoughts on the redshirt 5th year of eligibility? Any of that?
I think that doing it the same way as football seems fair. So I think that I'm in favor of that. I think that, especially like we just talked about, with so many more games with basketball, um, there's a higher chance that someone could get hurt early on in the season, and maybe they're a young player and they want to play 4 more years still, if it's still going to be 4 more years, or 5 more years, maybe if it's still going to be five. I think this all stems from COVID, though. I'll be honest, because
Oh yeah.
when they started like expanding and giving everybody extra eligibility and adding years and everything that they did throughout that crazy time, and that people are still taking advantage of at this point, um, I think it made them reconsider how long they're allowing kids to play in college, and how strict they're going to be with the rules. I mean, if you ask Jim Harbaugh, the NCAA has no spine anyways. So I think that they're just proving that they don't, and they're just going to say, "Wow, we'll let you guys do whatever you want. You want a red shirt after 10 games? Go for it. Sure. You guys want to come back for 5, 6 years? Do a red shirt. Do 5 more years? Go ahead. That's fine. Do that too." So I think that COVID kind of broke some of those rules. Not broke the rules, but broke some of the rule makers' minds and how strict they're going to be on some of these rules.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the point about COVID was exactly what I was thinking as well. Like, it's a slippery slope because once you allow one thing, it's the same thing we're talking about with the NCAA tournament. They allowed it to go to 68. They're never going to go back to
Yeah.
64. Now they've given out this COVID year. They're never going to go back to 4 years, in my opinion, because there's going to be too many kids that are like, well, this guy got 5 years. Well, they still had a year of basketball, but he still got 5 years of college basketball. So they're never going to be able to make that justification. And that's just how it's not just the NCAA. Yes, the NCAA has no spine. Jim Harbaugh said something that I agree with. Doesn't happen every day, but me and Jimmy, we're on the same page here. So good job,
I'm
Jimmy.
gonna have to text him and tell him you said that.
Yeah, let him know. Let him know. He'll be proud. But like this, it's not just the NCAA. This happens in our culture, in our society all the time. You have one thing happen, and then more just continues to happen. More things slip, more things slide, and so I mean, my thought process is to think about not if this will happen because I know it's going to happen, but if this is a better product for college basketball. I don't know. I do like certain aspects of players staying for 5 years because I think we get better basketball content. Like, I think that there are better basketball players with those 5 years and with more red shirts out there. But at the same time, you also have less players actually, like recruits and freshmen, making it into college basketball because of, the players that are staying. I mean, it's just this is what happens. You have more players that stay, less players can come in because of the roster limits. Now, I will say with them increasing the roster limits, I don't think this is as bad, but teams are going to have to pay a bunch of money for these kids to come out and be on their team with revenue sharing and stuff like that. So I think at the end of the day, it's not really so bad for us as fans. The roster limits are going to increase. I think it's fine. I think what's really bad for is these schools that don't know how they're going to pay their players, but they have all this room and their players are going to come to them and say, "Hey, I need money," and they're like, "Sorry, we're broke." Because
Yeah.
I got news for you. There are teams in college basketball that are broke. They're not all Kansas and Ohio State and Kansas State, like these big money NIL programs. There are programs in college basketball that somebody will go there and they'll be like, "Hey, how much can you pay me?" And they're like, "Here's a gift card. Here's $5 at Wendy's."
A gift
So
card.
I don't know. Do you think it's better? Do you think it's worse? What are your thoughts?
I don't know either. I for me personally, I'm gonna say that it's better, and here's why. In my
Oh, hold
personal
on one
life, and
sec.
I'm gonna
One
get.
sec.
Oh, okay.
Dylan, if you want to come on right now, just let me know. I'll send you the link.
Oh God, I can't be up all night though, dude.
We're not going to
Hard
stay up all
stop.
night.
Hard stop at 9:05.
Yeah, we're not going to stay up all night. But
Okay.
Dylan, if you want to come on, just let me know. I'll send you a link. It's super casual today.
He did let me on his show last night, so I think that would be only fair.
That's only fair. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, in my personal life, I am most happy when things are very structured and everybody's on time to things. And if I'm late or if there's any sort of chaos, I start getting unhappy. So, that being said, watching the NCAA have chaos with things like transfers going all over the place every single year, like the Wild Wild West, and letting kids play for 7, 8 years. Parker Fox has been in college basketball. He's my favorite guy. He's been in college basketball for like 7 years now, 8 years almost. Um, I love the chaos of it because it makes me feel like I have my stuff together when I watch a sport that has so much chaos. I'm like, okay, maybe my life's not so bad with this chaos because look at this nonsense. There's people transferring all over the place. There's people getting paid millions of dollars. There's some schools that are broke, like you're saying. They don't know how long they're going to be in school for. Maybe they'll redshirt. Maybe they'll transfer. Maybe they'll do this. It's just chaotic. And I love it because it makes me feel better about myself. So for me personally, yes, I think it's going to be better. And to get just down to the brass tacks of what this article was, definitely should be letting kids that have started a season, especially if there's an injury, it might need to be taken case by case. But if there's an injury or a coaching change, or, maybe they just didn't play well enough and the coach is like, hey man, you've already played 8 games, we're going to redshirt you now so that you're ready for next year because you're not really helping us right now, whatever the case may be. They thought he was ready and he's not. I think it should be the same as football. 10 games, that's the limit. Hey, who knows, maybe we'll expand it to 68 games by the end of in the next 10 years. We'll just keep expanding everything. It'll be great.
One game for every team that's allowed in the
Yeah.
tournament. I like your idea.
Yeah.
I like your idea. Dylan says, the one time I can't and you invite me, still love you, JR. I still love you too, Dylan. But you should know every Tuesday night you should make time for us because you never know when you'll be invited on.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. The other piece here is the national letter of intent, right? So they're talking about getting rid of the national letter of intent, which, if I understand it correctly from what I was reading, essentially what this would allow them to do is players would commit and they could just sign right away to be with the program. There is no like, oh, I'm committed and I have to wait until this day for signing day. No, like you can start making money from NIL and you can be locked in and you can start your contract, all that different kind of stuff because they're going to start doing that kind of stuff in college basketball. That's the way I understood it. And so if that's the case, I'm 100% for that. Because I think it's ridiculous that we have kids who are like 3 years away from graduation committing to schools, whether it be in college basketball or football. And then 2 years later, they decommit, commit somewhere else. And then a year later, they decommit again and then commit somewhere else. Like, I hardly feel bad for coaches because coaches make millions of dollars. They're doing just fine. But I do feel bad for coaches trying to put all these rosters together when they have kids who are committed that aren't really all that committed. They have players on their team that say, Coach, I'm not going to transfer. But some school can come to them and like that. They can offer them a ton of money and they say, oh, see us. Sorry. Like moving on. And so I do think that it makes for a better basketball product when you have coaches have a little bit more control of putting their actual team together. Now, do we want to give them the same control they had 10 years ago when they could make the players do push-ups until they puked and they really had no say and, they basically ruled their entire lives and they were drill sergeants? No, probably not. I think that power got abused a little bit. But I do think that the coaches need to have some power here. This isn't the NBA where the players have all the power and the players are getting paid more than coaches. But the coaches need some structure to be able to put their rosters together. What do you think, Kit?
I guess I don't love to speak on things that I don't fully understand yet, and I don't fully understand this, but I guess I'll start with a question then. How would this make them be more structured then if they don't have to sign a letter of intent? You're saying they're signing directly to the program so they can't leave after they commit, quote unquote commit?
So Ross Dellinger put an article together where he said eliminating the NLI, so National Letter of Intent, would usher in a new signing model that includes most of the core benefits of the existing system when a player commits to a program. Similar recruiting rules tied to the National Letter of Intent will continue with the signing of school aid agreements. And for instance, all communication with the signed prospect and family members must end, and the prospects are prohibited from signing more than one aid agreement prior to enrollment. So,
but what would
that's
stop them from like saying, I still changed my mind. I'm going to go sign with a different school now. But I
so
guess
they
if the other school is not allowed to talk to them, then they could get in trouble, I guess.
yeah. So
Once
the other school can't talk to him, and so the idea there is like if you can't talk to the other coaches, like the other coach isn't gonna flip your commitment. I guess if the coach leaves, then like yeah, there would be that. But
And the
if
best
you
thing about that part is too, like all the coaches will for sure follow that rule too. Like they're not going to talk to players
yeah,
before they're allowed to be talked to. Just ask Kurt Ferentz about that. I think that we're leaning into an era where we're about to just have full on contracts. And if I'm being honest, where we're at in college basketball, I think we might need them because they're getting paid money. And we have the situation, speaking of Iowa, like the offensive lineman from Iowa that went to Alabama, back to Iowa, back to Alabama, whatever it was, and got money from both schools. I think that the contract could help prevent that. And the contract and the school and the NIL all need to be working together, because if a kid's going to start getting money from the school and then he's going to decide to up and leave, there should be something in his contract that says, you owe us some moolah
yeah,
because we paid you and you're leaving before you played for us, or you're leaving before we thought you were going to. We thought you were staying for 2 years. Why are you leaving after the first year? And also, who was talking to you that made you leave? So, I think we're
basically what
going.
Phillips said.
What's that?
So it's basically what Phillips said. Coaches have a buyout, players have a buyout. Sorry, go ahead.
Philip and I are always locked in together. So yeah, I think that that's where we're going to, and I think that it probably needs to be where we're going because there's too much money involved with, especially these high level programs, and it's a little bit too messy, and it's something that I think that contracts legally could help solve a little bit more with some of this messiness, because this doesn't really make sense. It's just like, okay, you don't have to sign a letter of intent. You're going to be signing to a school. All right, well, let's just say something crazy happens, like a coach is still talking to him when he's not supposed to be, and he still changes his mind. Then what? There's no legal document, as far as I know, that's like binding them to this school. And even if there is, there's no financial punishment for them to leave. So I
Yeah, and
think that that's why we kind of need that.
I think that's what they're saying with the contracts is what you were saying. Like there's a buyout. So either the player has to pay the buyout or the school themselves has to play the buyout. Honestly, I could see this kind of turning into like European soccer or national soccer where
That'd be
like
sick.
the school or the program, the team, whatever, they have to pay the other school for the rights to sign that player, right? Which like it's good for the mid-major schools, right? I mean, who was a mid-major? John L. Davis. John L. Davis goes to Arkansas, and John L. Davis had 1 year left on his contract. So now, Florida Atlantic, they just lost Dusty May, Vlad Golden, John L. Davis. But guess what? Michigan and Arkansas both have to pay for John L. Davis and Vlad Golden to come
Now
to
they
their
can go get
schools.
some players themselves. Oh, dude, I
Right. Now
love this
FAU
idea.
is like, we
You're a
got,
genius.
yeah, I mean, I think that would make it really, really interesting. Now, would
Yes.
everybody abide by the rules? Heck no.
Well, it wouldn't matter. Like, to me, it wouldn't matter too much if they're abiding by the rules of like the coach's communication thing. Like that's never going to be abided by anybody or
Right.
most coaches or most programs. But to your point, though, it wouldn't really matter like if they're following the rules or not. Arkansas would have to pay them. Michigan would have to pay FAU.
It would
So
probably
they
be their
would have more
NIL, but
money.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't. They'd be like, okay, you want to take our player? Fine. Here's his contract buyout. Give us the money. That's even better than the player having to do it. I like that better.
Which the only thing that would come of that I can think of that would be a major negative is you would have players like sitting out and like, I want a better contract or something like that, which I don't know. I don't think you have much time to sit out, so maybe it would happen less because you have to play while you're in college. But
yeah, plus it would be like, no, you like. I think a lot of coaches are so stubborn. They'd be like, sit out then, dude. Like no one's gonna take you if you sit out. They're not gonna want a player like you.
Yeah, they're not gonna want to pay for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, good talk there, Kit. Let's move on to our last subject. We're gonna hit an ad really fast, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the rivalries. Home Field is your go-to destination for premium collegiate apparel with a passion for comfort and a flair for vintage design. Home Field brings you gear that is comfortable and stylish. With over 150 colleges to choose from, Home Field digs deep into the archives, uncovering forgotten logos, iconic mascots, and legendary moments to create one-of-a-kind apparel. Use my code TBTH for 15% off for new customers, or use my link in the description. JR, Casual Big Ten here, talking about rivalries in the Big Ten. Well, not just in the Big Ten, teams in the Big Ten, giving them new rivals. Now, Kent and I both kind of went we both kind of went different ways here. We both did not give any Big Ten teams as rivals. Well, I gave one to another Big Ten team, but I did give Big Ten teams to the newcomer teams that I had because I felt like that would be a good way to integrate them into the conference. Kent, you did not do the same, but you did do every team was outside the conference, correct?
Every team is outside the conference. And I was just going to add, too, this kind of stemmed from some of the matchups that we have in football this weekend with like some weirdly like kind of rival matchups with Michigan. They're not rivals, obviously, but they could be, and it would be fun if they were. And it's teams that people hate, I feel like. With Iowa and Iowa State, obviously that's a rivalry, but like
right.
Michigan, Texas, that's not a rivalry, but it's like they probably could be in another world. Northwestern and Duke, both like really smart schools. They're playing on Friday night. That kind of gets me going.
They're kind of like a rivalry.
Do you think they are already?
I mean, like they're on similar planes with each other. Like you said, they're both smart schools.
Yeah.
So like it feels like something that should be a rivalry. So I mean, if
I
was doing this,
peaked it for me though was the matchups this weekend, and I was like, man, these are really interesting, like potential non-rivals that could be though.
Yeah. Illinois, Kansas are kind of rivals a little bit. I don't know. Sonny might be able to give us a better idea there, or Philip, could tell us if he hates Kansas more than anybody else. I mean, obviously in basketball, but in football, I don't know how deep
who is
that
their main?
rivalry is.
Who is Illinois' like main rival? I don't even know if I know that.
Dude, it's Ohio State, the Illibuck Trophy.
I don't think that's the case.
Like
lately, it's definitely been, especially since we're talking about basketball, it's definitely been Purdue. I feel like.
Yeah, Purdue is more Illinois' rival lately. Northwestern is a rival with Illinois. They're both in Illinois. So I know Missouri is a rival for Illinois. There's another team. Is it West Virginia? No, there's another team. I have
another team, and that's what I'm going to start with. Do you want me to start this off?
Yeah, so I was going to go alphabetically. So Illinois is first, and then Indiana. So you have both of those. So why don't you give us Illinois first? I'll give your reasoning. I might comment if I have any thoughts, and then we'll move on to Indiana.
Okay. I also just want to do one more preface, and that is the reasoning behind some of these rivals is vastly different from team to team because I just thought of different stuff each time. But Illinois, I had the welcome your new rival, Kansas State. Of course, they just stole the heart of your program, Coleman Hawkins, out of your cold hands. And obviously, the state of Kansas has not been a friendly place to people like TSJ last year who had some legal dealings in that state. So the whole state of Kansas, we're rivals with you now. Illinois, Kansas State, rivalry I can't say that all at the same time. Rivalry week. There we go.
This is like the opposite of like setting up two people that you think would do well together on a
Yeah.
blind date.
Yeah.
Like we're setting up two fan bases together. It's like, hey, you two would hate each other a lot.
Yeah. You guys
Go
would
at it.
hate playing each other. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's a good pick. I don't know who else I would give for Illinois, possibly. John did say Purdue Cannon Trophy with Illinois. I did forget about that one. That is a rivalry in football. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what I would get to as well. Oh, Underwood is an alumni of Kansas State. Bruce Weber.
Oh, I forgot about Bruce
coached at
Weber.
Kansas State.
Okay, so that's a good
Man,
comment.
great
I didn't
pick,
know
kid.
about Underwood, but I did forget about Bruce Weber though. And I
Great
have
pick.
another one later on that is because of a coach that moved. And I can't believe I didn't add that to my little list here. Darn it.
Man.
Good
All right,
call.
great pick. I'm 100% on that one, especially after Philip said that. So yeah, Illinois, Kansas State, welcome to dinner. You two hate each other now. Let's move on to Indiana. Who is Indiana's new rival?
Wait, I'm up again?
Yeah, because I have Iowa, and Iowa's technically third.
Oh, okay. So this one I have less reasoning for, but my silly reasons are they both wear the same color. And it would be, from a geography standpoint, a border battle. And this team has been frisky in basketball lately. Indiana, your new rival. Dayton, the Dayton Flyers, your new basketball. Now, this is mainly for basketball, right? This is a basketball rivalry.
Yeah.
Is that cool? I just think that it would be cool because they're so close to each other. Maybe they hate each other. Maybe they don't. But, hey, it's a quick drive, 2 hours away. You go down there and battle it out for a couple hours, and then you get home that same day, and everything's all good. So Dayton, that's what I came up with for Indiana. I will say I didn't have a lot of time to dig on that one, so I didn't have any like great like coaches moving or anything like that. Like I didn't say Texas Tech because that's where Bobby Knight went after he left Indiana or anything like that. I could have said something like that, but I thought a little border battle right there with Dayton would be fun.
Philip points out Indiana did hire Archie Miller from Dayton, so they could be mad. Like, why don't you let us hire this dude? This dude stinks.
How am I doing this without even knowing? I did not know that one either.
John says IU and Kentucky. I consider them rivals. I don't know if anybody else does.
I think I do too. Like every time they play, they definitely talk during the offseason like they're rivals.
Yeah. They especially more when Indiana's good. If Indiana's not good, they don't really talk as much. But if they're good, definitely talking more. So, all right, good pick. All right,
Was it a good pick? It was Dayton. Are you sure it was a good pick?
Hey, Archie Miller. That was a connection there. Let's go with it.
I'll take it.
All right. My next one is Iowa. Iowa, you are a very offensively minded program, and I think that you need a little smaller school to give you some competition, but it's a school that is also a rival with one of your most hated rivals. Now it is a little bit more football than it is basketball, but Iowa has faced this team 16 times since 1949, so I say bring it back together. Iowa, meet your new rival, Creighton.
Ooh, I like that one. I like
so
that
you could
one.
have a triangle of hate between Nebraska, Creighton. Yep. I have no idea if this geographically makes sense. A triangle.
Do I still have the map? I pulled up a map of all the Division I basketball teams earlier to try to help me with this a little bit with some of the teams I was struggling with. But no, either way, that would be fun regardless.
Yeah. Could you imagine like they all three get together in one location that's like none of them have home games and they all three play each other? Like that would be a really cool rivalry environment. So
I feel like that's just a cool format in general. That should happen more often.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. They are 7-9 versus Creighton, so it is a close record amongst each other. Like I said, since 1949, I wasn't able to find, all the way back to like the 1901 and stuff like that. So sorry, but yeah. So that's
do you have it pulled up still? Do you know when did you say the most recent one was, or did you not say that?
It just has the record. I don't have when they played.
Because I don't remember the last time they played. I don't know if that was in my lifetime or not.
Yeah, unless Philip knows.
That would be insane if he knew that.
Philip knows McDermott offense versus Fran McCaffrey offense. That would be awesome.
That would be fun to watch. I love it. That's a good pick.
Yep. Thank you. My next pick, because I think I have Maryland next. All right, so little backstory in Big Banter Sports, there was a podcast for Maryland, and nobody liked them really, except the Michigan guys. They got along because Maryland came on their show and told them that they weren't cheaters, when the rest of Big Banter was kind of giving them a hard time. So they kind of became friends, but everybody else really didn't like them. And so they one podcaster called them the poor man's Duke. And I have never seen a group of fans get so angry about a nickname before. And that's when I discovered that Maryland absolutely hates Duke, and Duke considers them like a toddler little brother. Like Duke is like 26, has his own house, and the toddler little brother comes over and was like, "Let's play basketball in the driveway." And he's like, "Dude, I don't want to play you again. Like, I'm just gonna block your shots and destroy you." But that's kind of what it seems like between Maryland and Duke. So I would say give it to Maryland. Let them be rivals. Let the Duke fans embrace the hate. They don't just hate North Carolina, but they also hate Maryland as well. And yeah, the poor man's Duke comment. I think this is the most. This is the team that Maryland has played the most in their history.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, well, that makes sense because they used to be in the same conference, so it kind of like boils back up that old ACC rivalry that they already had. But I was also double checking, like, did they play Duke in their national championship? I was like, did they play them? They didn't play them in the championship, did they? I can't find
I don't
who
think
they
so.
even
What
played.
was it? 2003.
2002, yeah,
2002.
close.
Yeah.
Indiana? They played Indiana?
Oh wow.
Huh.
Don't
remember that.
I had
Dane Pike was on that team.
Loser gets Willard. John says Maryland and Georgetown. I did think about that one. I couldn't really find a solid reasoning, but the poor man's Duke just stuck with me. So, and yeah, Maryland and Duke are old ACC rivals. So, what I read made it sound like Maryland has always considered Duke a rival, but Duke never really considered Maryland a rival. So
that makes it even better in my eyes.
Yeah. So
that like Duke will not give them the time of day, but they care so much about it. Like,
yep.
That makes it even more bitter, I feel like.
I agree. So, all right. Michigan. Kent, who is Michigan's new rival?
All right, so this one's simple. It's going to be Harvard, and it's going to be because of Michigan thinks that they are the Harvard of the North, I think. And also, Harvard stole, I guess you would say, after Michigan let him go, Tommy Amaker back in the day. So there's some coaching history. This was the only one I actually did do coaching history on. I accidentally did those other ones. But yeah, Tommy Amaker with the move, and then obviously like Michigan kind of being the like I guess they would consider themselves the Ivy League school of the Big Ten, I think. So it kind of makes sense that they would have a rival that is in the Ivy League. So Harvard,
Yeah.
Your new rival.
Well, they do call themselves the Harvard of the West, don't they? I feel like I've heard Michigan fans say that before.
I looked it up and I didn't immediately find it, but I literally did one search and then I was like, I don't really care if that's true or not.
Maybe I just read somebody on Twitter say it one time.
I feel like I've heard them call it something along those lines before.
Yeah. I know Ohio State fans were very happy when they had some kind of academic achievement that only Harvard had. I didn't really understand it, but I guess
the Harvard of the Midwest right there.
Yeah. The Harvard of the Midwest.
The Harvard of the cornfields.
Congratulations, Michigan. You now hate Harvard. So
that's right.
Good stuff. All right. Next, Michigan State. I don't have a whole lot on this one, so I apologize if somebody in the chat has a better one. But Michigan State, meet your new rival, Notre Dame. You hate the Catholics. Congratulations. Similar to the Michigan Notre Dame rivalry in football, I think it'd be fun for Notre Dame to have another rivalry up in Michigan for basketball. And my first thought when I did this was like, well, it's kind of overmatched rivalry, right? Notre Dame not nearly as good as Michigan State, that kind of stuff. Since 1949, they were within 3 games of each other. Michigan State has won 19. Notre Dame has won 16. So I was like, all right.
Played that many times, huh? Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's like since 75 years ago, but still.
That's
What's
true.
19
I never
plus
told you I was
16?
a vampire, and
35.
I've been alive that many years.
Oh, okay.
So
So
I
you
just
should,
like watch. I've been watching college basketball that long, so I just can't remember them playing that many times. 30 something times.
yeah,
I guess I must have missed some of those in my vampire days.
you should be far less casual of a Big Ten fan if you've been alive that long.
You would think I would know more.
That's what I thought. So yeah, Spartans versus Catholics. Meet your new rival, Notre Dame. All right, Minnesota. Kent, tell us who the Gophers are going to start hating.
I'm glad you didn't have much on Michigan State because I didn't have much on this one either. I just went with South Dakota State. I don't know why. I think like again, I went back to the map. It was semi close, and the Jackrabbits, I believe they are always kind of frisky. They always seem to be like in the tournament. That's South Dakota, right? Jackrabbits?
Yeah,
I think so.
or South Dakota State.
Yeah. Them. That's who their new rival is. So both have like kind of funny mascots. It's like a golden gopher and a jackrabbit, and they are, like I said, semi close to each other. I don't know. Think it could be fun. They're
I
not
feel
the
like I've
worst
seen.
basketball school ever, but Minnesota's not the best. I think that from a competitive standpoint, I think that these could be some really good games actually. So we'll see. Minnesota, South Dakota State tonight on ESPN. Rivalry. I can't say rivalry week without pausing. Can you? What's wrong with me?
Rivalry week.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I can't do it. I have a
I
speech
feel like I've
impediment
seen
when
a
it comes to
gopher
that.
and a rabbit fight before in the wild.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. So John does not care. Men, who cares?
Yeah. That's kind of why I didn't put a lot of work into that one.
All
But
right, well,
John, I'm a big Parker Fox fan. Speaking of other animals,
I was
Fox.
gonna say you should have just reached out to Parker Fox and see who he hates, and said Parker Fox hates this
Oh,
team, so
yeah.
now so do you.
I think he actually played at like North Dakota before he came to Minnesota. It was like a smaller school.
So maybe he hates South Dakota then, because they would be rivals.
Oh, yeah. True.
Yeah. So, all right, good stuff. Next is Northwestern. You have that one as well.
This one's simple. It's Chicago State from last year for no other reason than that they beat them last year and tried to steal that they are Chicago's team away from Northwestern, and they did it. So Northwestern at this current time is not Chicago's team for basketball until they beat Chicago State. So it has to be them. It has to be a rivalry. They have to play every year. Chicago State, Northwestern, basketball rivals.
I love it. It. Northwestern needs to avenge themselves. Illinois really should do like a Illinois like basketball tournament thing, kind of how Indiana did with IU, Purdue, Butler, and who was the other team? Was it Notre Dame? Was the other team they had in there? They had
I don't
4
remember
teams from
that.
Indiana. But they should do that with Illinois, Northwestern, Chicago State, and another team. But that would be fun if they did that.
Like Northern Illinois. Why not? Bring a MAC
There you
team
go.
in there.
There you go. Northern Illinois. Good stuff. All right. My Nebraska. Listen, take it back to the Big 8. All right. Nebraska was not always in the Big 10. And I think you got to have some rivalries be rejuvenated. Now, this team did leave the Big 12, and they are now in the SEC. Big time football rivalry that I think can now translate over into basketball and get a little bit of the Big Ten SEC rivalry going. Give me Nebraska, meet the new team you hate, Oklahoma. You already have hatred with them in football, so the hatred should be easy to put together. It's a very close record, 62-68. I guess that's not very close, but it's a pretty close record, 62-68. Nebraska is losing this one, so start playing every year, get it together, home and home versus each other. Like I said, a little bit of that Big Ten SEC. So I don't have a coach that went back and forth, though.
I was going to say, I don't know.
Unless Philip has one.
I don't know many coaches from or going to and from Oklahoma to begin with. So I don't have one either.
I guess I could have done Iowa State, and we could have had another like triangle of hate with Nebraska, Iowa, and Iowa State. And Fred Hoiberg came from Iowa State. So
it's a lot
maybe I should have done that.
A lot of triangles of hate out there in the cornfields.
That's what we want. We want as much hate as possible.
That's what makes that corn grow real good. All that hate out there for basketball teams. That's a good one though. I like that one.
John says Nebraska and Arkansas. Do they hate each other? Or is there potential for hate there?
Mm.
I just don't know. I would love it if there is.
The funny thing is, I don't think anyone really hates Nebraska, other
That's
than
true.
like Iowa, right? Do they hate? I don't know. Do they even hate him?
Iowa, Minnesota kind of hates him.
But as like from a basketball standpoint, I think like everyone kind of respects their fans, though. I
Kind
don't
of
know.
Creighton doesn't. I mean, Creighton, Nebraska is a big time rivalry, but
Well,
in the Big
Creighton
Ten.
can get lost. Then I was gonna say something way meaner, but I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Next one is Ohio State. I'm doing this alphabetically, right? If I mess up, you let me
I
know.
don't know. I'm just waiting for you to say
Um,
mine so that then I can go.
okay.
Not that I want to go really badly. I just do it however you want. I don't really care.
Okay. This is the one that I said that there should be a rivalry in the Big Ten because I've always felt like this should be a rivalry, but it's not. And I think it's a little bit like the Maryland and Duke thing where I think
Can
Ohio
I
State
guess?
fans, sure,
Is it Penn State?
no.
Oh,
It is
okay,
a
go
state
ahead.
that borders Ohio, though.
I was told there would be no tests on here.
That's okay. Indiana. Indiana
Really?
and Ohio State have faced each other the most out of any program. Well, they are the program that Ohio State has faced more than any other program in their history. So I think that's really neat. Bob Knight comes from Ohio State. He played there, coached at Indiana. So there's a bit of a connection there. You could have like a Bob Knight Memorial Trophy or something like that. I think that
Doesn't he
would be
have to be?
fun.
Did he pass away?
Not yet, but his health is not great. So
Oh.
it could. I mean, we hope he stays alive as long as possible. But
Doesn't it have to be a memorial trophy though? Doesn't he have to be dead?
maybe not memorial trophy, like an honoring him trophy. I don't know. I'm not trying to kill the guy. Sorry,
It sounds like you are.
I'm not trying to. I like Bob Knight.
Did you just
Nothing
kill Bob
against.
Knight? If he dies tomorrow, that's your fault.
Don't put that on me. You were told there'd be no quizzes. I was told no lives would be lost because of this podcast.
Okay, I redact that then.
Philip says Ohio State and Butler, the Thad Matta game. That's interesting. I think Ohio State has taken a lot of coaches from smaller Ohio schools. Wait, did he really, Philip? I didn't think he died yet.
I thought he did too, actually.
Oh, he did die. All right. Well, sorry, Bob.
Okay, so
But
now it
oh
can't
no,
be
he did. He did. I do remember now. Okay. So yeah, he did die. They had a moment at one of the games.
That's
For that.
bad that neither one of us remembered it though.
Well, in my mind, I just wanted him to be alive. So
Same.
I'll just blame it on that. I wanted him to
Same.
be alive, so I refused to believe it. So sorry. Thank you for reminding us, John and Philip. So yeah, there could be a bit of a memorial game there, but I mean no ill will toward Bob Knight. I think it would be really cool for them to honor him and like his coaching legacy and his playing legacy and stuff like that. I know the drama, choked a player, that kind of stuff. Listen, it's different times. Okay, different
Dude,
times.
he's got some of the like. I think I do remember. I actually feel terrible that I didn't remember that he passed away because, um, I remember the night that it happened. Now that Philip says that, because everyone was posting like all their favorite videos of him, and I probably saw like 10 new clips of him that I didn't see, and dude was hilarious during interviews. Like, just would like refuse to give people the time of day. He was so passionate about basketball, he didn't care about anything else. So no, I didn't mean any ill will either by saying that I forgot, by the way. Funny guy.
Yeah, I think there was like a hoax one time that like Bob Knight died, and I think that's what I was thinking of because I do
Mm.
remember that happened. I remember there was like a hoax, and it turned out he didn't die, which that person should get in a lot more trouble than us.
Yeah,
That's
definitely more than us.
terrible.
We didn't do anything wrong,
Yeah,
okay?
we should be in no trouble.
Yeah. We're allowed to do this.
We just are forgetful. All right, give us a break.
Yeah.
Philip says Indiana wore the RMK patches on the jerseys for him last year. Yes, that's right.
RMK.
I don't remember what it stood for, but I
Oh,
remember
Robert Knight.
Robert
And
M.
whatever
Knight.
his middle name was.
Yeah,
That threw me off because I only
don't
know
remember-
him
I
as
don't remember
Bob.
what his
Like when
middle
I
name
knew
is.
him, he was just Bob.
Yeah, they should have wore patches that just said Bob.
Oh, Bob would have been better. Yeah, Bob. Everyone would have
B-O-B.
remembered that more because RMK didn't hit home for me. I don't even remember those.
I remember the patch. There's like a black circle, I think. Anyway.
They should have did Bob with like a little chair that had fallen over like next to the Bob. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like I thought
No, I
that
think that'd be great.
I think that would have been a good logo, like because the chair falling over kind of like represents him passing because it
Yeah.
like fell over. But also
Well, and
would
then
have
like
been
he also threw the chair. Like I thought
right,
that's what you're getting at. Like he threw the
right.
chair
Yes,
thing.
yes. That's
Yeah.
like one of his most iconic moments. I think that people know him for from Indiana,
Yeah.
especially. But anyways, we're getting
That's
super off topic.
that's what they should do. They should have the Bob Knight Memorial Game, and
Oh,
every like whatever time it was when Bob Knight threw the chair onto the court, they should have to take a timeout at that time, and somebody gets the honor of
to
throwing the
throw the
chair.
chair. That's way better than what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the chair like sideways on the top of the trophy,
Oh,
like kind of
that
going through
too.
the air.
Yeah. No, I think I honestly though I think it would be a really cool thing to remember Bob Knight if they Montgomery. There we go, Robert Montgomery Knight, and John's there too. All right, thank you. You guys have Google right now, so I'm gonna believe you did it that way. If you just remembered his middle name, I'm incredibly impressed. But
He
yeah,
might be a big Bob Knight fan. He might.
might be. I don't know. I know Philip's an Illinois fan. I don't know what John's a fan of. John, if you can
Sounds
tell
like
us who
an
you're a fan of.
Indiana fan.
Is he an Indiana fan?
I mean, who else would remember the patches? Like I watched every single one of their games, and I don't even remember those.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Oregon, that's your team. Who you got
All
for
right,
them?
this is the stupidest one probably that I came up with. It's Oregon versus the Orange Syracuse. The Syracuse Orange versus Oregon. The two O's battling it out. Right? I also thought that it would just be hilarious to have. I originally wrote down Maine because like Oregon is so far away from Maine, and like naming it like the far away game or whatever. Something I would come up with something better by then. But
No, I
you
think
had
you stick with
Washington
the
and
far
Washington.
away game. That
Yeah, the
sounds
far
much
away
better.
game, the
Yeah.
super duper far away game is what we would have called it.
Yeah, I
But
think that's much better.
but you had Washington though, which is even farther away from Maine. I don't know if that's who you picked. I highly doubt it, but I'll take Syracuse and Oregon rivals from the fact that they're super far away. The O's, and I think that this would be a really cool jersey matchup game, like the green and the orange out there together. I think it would look really cool. So,
Like the USC, UCLA, where they have to wear their colored jerseys, both of them.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that'd
that
be
would
cool.
be really nice. That would be
Yeah.
really nice.
I'm for it if Oregon can no longer bring the duck for that one. They have to bring like a green dot. Like the big orange is like an orange dot.
Yeah,
So then Oregon has like a, but he's only a mascot for that game though. Like he only comes out for the Syracuse game,
yeah, yeah.
and
That'd
then
be
you
great.
get to take the mascot of the other team. That's like your trophy. I mean,
Mm.
obviously the mascot goes home. It's just a suit, but still, like,
Yes, yes. Like
or we could abduct him.
metaphorically, you get to have the mascot.
Yeah, or we could abduct him. One of the two. But for Syracuse, that would be a much bigger deal though, because they don't have their mascot for the rest of the year. So they
That'd
gotta
be
win.
bad.
So all right. My next one is Penn State. This is really lame. But this is the best I had. Bucknell.
Okay.
Penn State, you lost to Bucknell last year. It was embarrassing. They are now your rival. You hate them. They're only an hour from Penn State.
I was
Only
gonna say,
an hour
is
away.
Bucknell is in Pennsylvania, right? Didn't we talk about that with
Yeah, that's where Zach is.
Zach?
At.
Yeah, sorry, forgot his name for a second.
Yeah, no, that's where Zach does his campus ministry at. Yeah, so I'm all for that. Let Penn State and Bucknell hate each other, and Penn State has to redeem their loss to Bucknell this last year. And they've actually played each other quite a bit. I look back, like I said, 1949 and on, they've played each other quite a bit. So Penn State has been doing different conferences and stuff like that. So they've played Bucknell more than they've played some Big Ten teams. So interesting. All right,
Interesting.
you have Purdue, Kent.
All right, I'm going with Louisville for this one. I think that because it goes from the coaching from football. Actually, didn't Louisville get Brom from
Yep.
Purdue? So there's a little bit of bad
Brom,
blood
that
right
was
there.
his alma
Plus,
mater, I believe.
okay. Plus, I think that both of these schools, especially now with Purdue, are known for having good basketball teams. So I think that we could get some really good games out of Louisville and Purdue. So just simply because I'm selfish and I want to see good games, it's not the farthest away from each other. So it's a realistic rivalry. I feel like they're really close to each other. And I think it would be really fun. So Louisville, Purdue.
Yeah, I
Simple.
mean, Louisville, part of Louisville is in Indiana as well. So it'd be kind of a cool, like, they come down there to play, and it's like half Indiana people, half, I mean, not Indiana fans, like people from Indiana, and half
Yeah,
people in Louisville. So that'd be cool.
I like it.
All right. Next is Rutgers. All right, I did some history digging on this one. All right.
Okay.
So Rutgers and this team were the only two pre-independence colleges before Independence Day. All right, they were the only two colleges pre-independence in the USA that are not in the Ivy League. So Rutgers has a good amount of rivalries with teams in the Ivy League. Probably the
Yes.
most prominent one, Princeton, goes back to football and stuff like that, and they actually still carry it on in basketball today, which I think is awesome. Penn, a little bit of a rivalry there as well. But I think two teams that are not in the Ivy League that have kind of those Ivy League roots, and both these teams have rivalries in the Ivy League. Rutgers meet the new team you hate, Williams and Mary.
Ooh. Ooh, that'd be good. Are they
And
good though? Like, are they like trash at basketball?
well, Williams and Mary beat them in 2015. I looked up that game.
Oh,
They beat them 72-62. So,
I don't think that they would beat them next year.
no, they would definitely not. But yeah, so that is the only time they've ever played was in 2013. That is the only time they've ever played. So it's like new rivalry, new record against each other, kind of similar area. One's down in Williamsburg, Virginia, the other one in Piscataway. So is it
Works.
Piscataway? Is that where Rutgers is at?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'd be neat. Good little history lesson there.
I think it would get some more eyes on it's Williams and Mary?
William and Mary.
William and Mary. Okay. That's how
Yeah.
much I know about them. Don't even
I
know
don't
if there's
know
an
where
S
that
on
name
the
comes
internet.
from. Yeah. I was
I think
actually
we get
at
some
William and Mary this summer when I went to Williamsburg to go to the battleground out there. Anyway, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we get some more eyes on their program because I don't think a lot of people are watching them right now, other than if they were rivals with Rutgers.
Yep, that's true. All right, UCLA, all you can.
I'm gonna keep this one real simple because we've been talking about this for a while now, but I'm gonna go with Texas, and this is simply because I think that the clash of the people that are in the majority that support different political parties from those areas getting together in the same building to watch basketball with each other would be dynamite. I would love to see it.
Could you imagine a presidential debate before the game?
Yes, that would be fantastic. So that is the only reason I picked them. Also, they're both like big brand, big name schools. I guess that's another reason. And again, I think it would look really cool. Texas, the burnt orange is like one of my favorite colors in all of like college sports. And then UCLA with their uniform combos that they have is not far behind. So I think it would look good on TV. It'd be fun to watch. And there's such a clash of like cultures that I think it would be an actual rival. Like people would actually want to kill each other at that game.
I agree. I think it should be done. It should be the very first game of the college basketball season. There should be a presidential debate beforehand, and because it happens in November, and then we vote weeks later.
Or that decides the vote right there.
No. Yeah, whoever wins that game, that decides who's president.
Yeah.
So they only play every 4
They
years.
only play every 4 years. Yes. Yes.
All right, I'm game.
Do you know how many people would watch that game?
Oh yeah, dude.
If they were like, okay.
We're talking about the NCAA wouldn't make more money.
Exactly. You want some eyes on this? Make the presidential election come down to it. I mean, it's not much worse than the system we have set up right now.
Actually, I think this would be better. I think we've
I think
come
it
up
would
with a
be too.
better idea.
I definitely think it would be better. Either way, by the way, I
Uh,
don't care who would win. I just think it would be fun to watch.
no, I agree. I agree.
Like they're like both of them are like courtside too, like sitting behind, like right next to the coach, like on the
Honorary
bench.
coaches for the
Yeah.
game. It's like McCronin, you go sit down. Kamala Harris is the coach of UCLA today.
Oh, you're saying they're actually the coaches?
Yeah.
Like, they get to coach.
Like they're in charge of the lineups and everything. Trump goes over and starts coaching Texas.
Oh man, this is where I wish I had a Trump impression.
Yeah,
I don't though. I'm sorry. I'm
don't
not even
either.
gonna try because I don't have one. But man, that would be so great. They have to coach the game. Oh man,
That
would be
sounds
fun.
awesome.
Could you imagine that game going to overtime? Like Twitter would explode.
Everything would explode.
Everything would
be-
explode.
That
Oh
would be
man,
crazy.
that'd be
You
so
would literally
fun.
have mobs outside the stadium. Oh man, the pressure on those poor college students. Can you imagine the recruiting pitch though? Like you will decide.
You will
in the
decide
next
the
4 years.
president of the United States. For 40 minutes, you will be the decision.
Oh my gosh, the refs would die if they.
Dude,
made
you
that
want to see
call.
some NIL money come in? UCLA and Texas would have the biggest pack money backed NIL ever. That would be fantastic.
I'm for it. I'm for it. All right, we better move on. Otherwise, we're gonna be here another half hour.
Okay, sorry.
USC. So this was where I gave them a rival in the Big Ten. I also came up with a rival outside of the Big Ten for USC. So I'll do my
Okay.
rival outside of the Big Ten first. That was Arkansas. They took Eric Musselman. I think it'd be fun to see Eric Musselman and Cal coach against each other. I think that would be a interesting thing. Yeah, Big Ten SEC again. So that was my thought process there. But my thought process for in the Big Ten, give them a team to hate in the Big Ten, Nebraska. Nebraska has Iowa they hate, a little bit of Minnesota, but USC, meet Nebraska. You all hate each other now. Both are former very good football programs. USC back a little bit right now. Nebraska has Dylan Raiola, so it doesn't work exactly that way. But both were blue blood powerhouses at one point in time. The series is split right now, 5-5. So you have an even split there for that series. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. USC, Nebraska.
I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I do think it was a miss not to mention the Trojans versus the Spartans.
Oh, that's a good point too.
I feel like that is a rival that needs to be had.
They could play in like a coliseum.
See, we're instantly spitballing right now with this.
Yeah, they have to play in the snow in the coliseum every year outside.
What if they played on a boat? Wouldn't that be crazy? Could you imagine like an aircraft? Just kidding.
If only we could figure out how to get two teams playing on an aircraft carrier. The basketball would be.
They have to
so
play in
good.
the air. Actually, they have to play on an airplane. They have to put a basketball court on an airplane and fly it.
All right.
All right, sorry.
What do we have
it's
next?
getting late. All right, what's next?
Wisconsin. Oh, I'm next because I have Washington, and then you have Wisconsin, so you're last. All right. So my team in the Big Ten for Washington is Michigan. I feel like both are the North School in the rivalry. The Washington is just the upside down M. I mean, it's not exactly just the upside down, but still, Michigan has the M. Washington upside down.
I get
the
it.
W. I think that would be kind of a new little rivalry. You kind of already have like the Ohio State, Oregon football rivalry starting right now. So why not get a Washington, Michigan basketball rivalry started? I think that would be.
They also
fun.
played in the national championship game. A lot of people forget that.
Well, but we're talking basketball here.
Oh yeah, I know.
But yeah,
but that helps though, the rivalry.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have Michael Penix Jr. and JJ McCarthy be coaches for the game.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know why I like switching out coaches for others.
Yeah, you're a big fan of like getting rid of the coaches and having somebody else coach. I think
I just
that
like
deep
that
down
idea.
inside, you're thinking that maybe you'll get on a sideline one day if you keep switching out the coaches. Like, I'll get to do this.
Maybe I have more ways to be able to do that now. So yeah, that's my thought process there. Wisconsin, who you got, Kent?
All right, I'm going with the University of California, and it's for one reason only. That California is the second leading cheese producer in the country, and Wisconsin wants no part of anybody else making any sort of cheese without them saying that it's okay. So it's the battle of the cheeseheads, Wisconsin, and I had to Google who was second, by the way. And then I picked a school from there. Cal. Wisconsin, Wisco, Cal, Battle of the Cheese.
Wiscal, whiskey.
Wisconsin,
Yeah,
Nia.
you have the whiskey.
Wisconsin, Nia. No, man, I got to stop.
You have the whiskey trophy. Whisk cow, kind of like whiskey.
Okay, I like it.
Um, let's see. Philip says Wisconsin has more dairy farms. California has more dairy cows. Yeah,
Philip
so they
is
can
just a
play.
fountain of knowledge tonight.
Yeah. Well, he has Google, so
No, this is all off the top. I can
okay.
feel it.
Okay. I believe you,
Yeah.
Philip. Very intelligent. Yeah. No, I mean they play for like the right to have the land or to have the cows. Like Cal has to bring cows with them, and
They know
Wisconsin
they
has to.
both have to bring a cow to the game, and whoever loses has to kill it on the court afterwards.
Sacrifice it to the rivalry.
Yes.
Philip, I love this. That's not Google. I know dairy.
That a boy, Philip. I love that
I
he knows
love that.
dairy.
I love that. All right. Well, this exercise took much longer than I thought it would, but it
Me
was
too.
very fun.
I think that's my fault. I'm not sure.
No, that was a great idea. Very fun. Boy, we thought this basketball episode would not go very long. We only had 3 topics. Here we are, almost an hour and a half in. I'm very tired, so we're gonna end things. Kent, thanks for being here. Why don't you tell people where they can find Casual Big Ten?
It's on X at Casual Big Ten. I'm on YouTube at Casual Big Ten. Trying to do more stuff on YouTube. Did the Bet Big show this morning. It goes out live on both of those platforms, and then you can watch it later. If you want to scroll through tweets, you can find it on Twitter still. If you want to watch it on YouTube, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would be much obliged.
You'll also find some NCAA football gameplay there as well.
That's right.
You still doing that?
I'm still doing that. I was planning on doing it tonight. I don't know if I'm going to stay up any much later though, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We just advanced a week. I'm still number 1 in the. We call it the College Huddle Dynasty.
Yeah.
Because there's some College Huddle people in there.
It's what, you, Russ, Dylan?
Yeah.
Some other people from the College Huddle?
I think so.
Yeah. Sweet.
I'm still in first place, by the way, so I'm well representing the brand there.
Not happening, Philip. Not happening. Stay in 3 hours. Not doing it.
Why would you want
Dylan.
that, Philip? You don't want
we
that.
We need Dylan. John says later. Yes, before you go, please do tune in tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Got Chris Drew coming in from Minnesota Sports. We're going to talk about the Michigan game, the Oregon game, the Nebraska-Colorado game. I think we'll probably do Ohio State, at least touch on it as well, just because I know we have a number of Ohio State fans that listen to the football version. They do not listen to basketball. Ohio State fans do not care about basketball. So we
don't care about them then. How about that?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm
the ones that don't
anymore.
watch the basketball episodes. If you're an Ohio State fan and you do, I love you.
Yeah. Eric shows up every now and then, but
great.
So, yeah, check us out tomorrow night. Me and Chris Drew, 9 o'clock. And we'll also have our SEC upset pick of the week for you that time as well. So we hate the SEC. That is our rival.
Who was it last week?
I picked Texas A&M last week.
Nice.
And John picked LSU. So
I like this segment a lot already then.
2 for 2. Yep.
Let's keep it going.
I think I also said Georgia if they're really bad, but that was like not going to happen. So,
yeah,
which I was right. So, all right. Thanks everybody for listening. We do appreciate it. Have a good one.